Hey everybody, welcome to Goots' Wrestling Pod. I'm your host, Ray Goots, and Andrew Lee is here again. And today I'm
Yo,
representing Brutus the Barber Beefcake. What up, son?
dude, you know what? I really like, you know what look I like in wrestling is the fucking bare chest with the fucking bow tie. I don't know why I like that look. It's such a fun look.
It's an 80s stripper look.
Yeah.
Today we're talking something a little bit different. It is a pay-per-view. It's a no-holds-barred pay-per-view, but it was only a one-match pay-per-view. So we're going to cover a tape that it was on, the whole tape. But before we get into that, I went to SmackDown on Friday for free because his podcast is so successful. Triple H was like, Ray Goots, I want you as my special guest. Everything was free for me. Great SmackDown and historic SmackDown because, Andrew, I don't know if you knew this, but it was the highest grossing SmackDown in SmackDown history and the highest grossing WWE event in MSG history. So big event and everything, and I didn't pay a single dime. So WWE passed savings on to me. And I don't know if you knew this, but this might be the first time in American history WWE or any wrestling show is the number one show on network television for the week
Yeah, I heard about that. They're the number one show of all TV.
of all network TV.
The
All the
whole, this was last week, by the way, guys, of that whole week from Monday through Friday, right?
yeah.
So what that means is like there's no show on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday or Friday that drew better than ratings than SmackDown did. Granted, these are the ratings are much lower than what it used to be back like 20 years ago, but it's a different time, you know? It's not like 8 million, it's like 3 million or
I'll tell
close
you,
to 3.
if this happened in the 80s, Hulk Hogan or whoever did it in the 80s would have been like the biggest star on the planet because like this is
But
not
you know who this is all thanks to, though, right?
the tribal chief.
Yeah, the storyline that everybody keeps writing off is actually shrugging along perfectly. Um, if everyone, you might, I think the average person, like, I think if you've been following this storyline from the beginning, you might think it's stupid because some parts of it is really stupid, right? But the average wrestling fan seems to love it, and they just keep coming back for
It was
more.
great this week. People complained. I'll tell you, like, we were sitting there watching this, and I'm like, this could be the whole show. And everyone in that section, including I was with non-wrestling fans, they all were like, yeah, this could be the whole show. Like, if the whole 2 hours was just that angle, I think everyone would have left there satisfied.
Yeah, they love the parts where he's like I trusted you, Oos. Do you trust me? Who do you trust, Oos? Oos, Oos. Do you
I'll tell
trust
you,
me?
I'll tell you what I noticed. Now, again, I wasn't in the crowd. Triple H gave me my own private booth because I'm very special to the WWE. But
I tried to get into that same show, and they were like, "Who are you again? You got to pay double because
yeah,
you smell." And I was like, "Oh."
like, he spoke to somebody named Big Daddy Sags. He said you had to pay triple. Um, fucking dude. I noticed going in the arena and leaving. So I've been, the past few years, I've been to a lot of WWE shows in New York, including just 4 years ago. I was at NXT. I was at Raw, SmackDown. This was the most women I've seen in the crowd. This was a lot of
Really?
families. Yeah. This was a lot of people who looked like they don't sit in their basement and smell their own farts all day. When I went to see NXT in Barclays, that crowd was an abomination. And those people have all gone over to AEW. You put on it seems like more like regular people at these events. And I'm not trying to shit on me or you or wrestling fans, but you know what I mean by regular people, and you know what I mean by wrestling fans. You know what I'm saying?
You mean like Dixon span
Yeah,
people?
there's less Bixen bands and more like people who look like they work as accountants and they're there. You know what I mean? But like there were a lot of women too. There were a lot of women. There seemed to be more mentally well people in the crowd, which is big.
That's a good sign always.
Mentally well people.
Yeah, like when you get like if you have an audience that's very diverse,
Mhm.
that means you're hitting on all cylinders. But and I've heard Disco Inferno use this reference, but he said if you look at AEW's audience, it's like a sea of overweight white guys with black t-shirts.
Yep.
Right? And that's kind of like what it is. And it's like, yeah, that's a lot of Vixens fans. That should be that should just be a noun from now on. A Vixens fan.
Dude,
That's
yeah, like I had when I was watching Collision, I was watching with my friend, and he was like, "There are no women in the crowd. There are," and I was like, "This is a completely different crowd than what was at SmackDown the night before." Yeah, WWE, and I'm gonna say it was around the time Vince retired. Somehow they got that different audience, and they've been holding on to them. And I think it's been mainly
growing it.
growing. I think it's been really, and I remember seeing like a really diverse group of people at WrestleMania, but it's WrestleMania. But I saw it again at SmackDown, and they're growing, and I think it's mainly I don't think it's because of Raw or NXT. I think it's all because of what's happening on SmackDown, and I think that show
has 100% that Roman Reigns storyline. It 100% is.
Yeah, the Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn.
It's not my favorite thing. Sami Zayn's not even a part of it anymore. You know?
Yeah, but I think he was part of the reason why it got to this
level.
level.
Yeah. I think everybody who touches that storyline in any way, Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn or anybody who gets a little taste, Cody Rhodes into it, they're for the better of it. I think that storyline's dude. Wrestling in the past, wouldn't you agree, has always been described as a soap opera?
Yeah, when you get a good storyline.
Yeah, it just keeps dragging it on. You got to keep dragging it on.
Here's what they got to do. I've kind of accepted that it's not going to end this year. They've got to. And I think if they don't do this, if they keep it going, it's going to be a huge mistake. And I said that at this WrestleMania, but I'm going to back it up here. I think you could be doing the same storyline without the belt, by the way. I think Cody could have the belt and you could be doing the same fucking story, but that's a whole other thing.
I hear what you're saying, and just like, yeah, you said it in the past, and while I don't think there's anything wrong with what you're saying, I actually am going to disagree and say they're going to keep going constantly because wrestling is all about milking until it fucking dies.
But I think the key is Roman loses at WrestleMania and then he turns face after, and then like there's a whole new saga for him to get the belt back. I think that's what they have to do at WrestleMania. And I think the big key to this, I think they're actually going to do this. I don't know what you think. I think we already talked about this. I think they got to bring in the Guerrillas of Destiny at WrestleMania. I mean, at SummerSlam.
You mean by WrestleMania it'll be Roman Reigns' turn to be like, I trusted you, Uth. I trusted you. Do you trust me, Uth?
This is what I think. This is what I would do. I would have Roman and his back's against the wall. Jey Uso's about to beat him. The Guerrillas of Destiny show up. They interfere. And now Roman is like, because the Tongans are family, but they're like not really blood family. And been like, so making this thing like Roman has now turned to the Tongans. He's made a deal with Haku. And Haku is basically like this. And then he becomes more ruthless. And so are the Tongans. And he becomes like just a complete piece of shit, Roman, with the Tongans, until eventually it's almost like Edge with Judgment Day. When you get to WrestleMania, Roman realizes, oh, these guys are fucking maniacs. I need to pull back. And that's when the Tongans turn on him. But you can build up God versus the Usos. And this is why I think GOD's coming in. They don't do anything with AEW. Have you noticed that?
You know what I'm going to say? This would be interesting because we don't know this until like a year from now, right? Or half a year from now? No. Close to a year, right? Like, I'm going to say, I don't think the Guerrillas of Destiny are going to be brought in, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in more actual family members. But there's a lot more wrestlers in that family than people realize.
But the Guerrillas of Destiny, to me, they look like the Venom they're like the Venom to Uso Spider-Man. Like they're like the more crazier, dangerous Usos.
No, visually, yes, but yeah. I don't know how the contract situation is or whatever. And I feel like they're probably Jacob Fatu is getting into some shit right now with MLW.
Maybe
right? Yeah. And I feel like eventually
who's Jacob Fatu's
what?
Who's his dad?
Jacob Fatu's dad, I think, is Samu, right? Okay. I think so, right? And I know that there is another. I mean, there's a lot of There's a lot of wrestlers
I
in
know.
that.
But the reason why I think something's gonna happen with Girls of Destiny is like if Girls of Destiny were like fuck WWE or like why has Tony Khan not put them on AEW TV? Why were they never at Forbidden Door? They have not been seen once in relation to AEW. And I feel like the only reason why is that they're like, when our contract is up, we're gonna be on the Bloodline story. And maybe Triple H and Roman are like, don't go on AEW TV. Vince won't like that.
Jacob Fatu's father is the Tongan Kid, actually. The correction on that.
So the Tongans. Three. What if it's all three Tongans? Jacob Fatu with Gorillas of Destiny.
I'm all for the Gorillas of Destiny coming in. I'm not sure if they will. I'm not. I would say I'm gonna. We should put a weight.
I'll admit I'm wrong if they show up on Collision or. But I'm sure if New Japan and Gorillas of Destiny wanted to be on AEW, Tony Khan would let them because he's a bitch. So why haven't they? Everyone else, Filthy Tom Lawler, everyone else has been on AEWT or been at Forbidden Door, not them. Because they're biding their time.
That's hopefully it is, and hopefully it's not well, no, Hikaleo's been on their TV. Hikaleo, the younger brother, the tallest one. He's been on there.
Yeah, but the Gorillas are like the money.
Yeah, I think the reason supposedly they also could be because their attitude. That's the oldest one. He 100% is one of those like I don't give up. Like I'm gonna say whatever the fuck I want.
That's why he would be great in the storyline because now
absolutely.
Roman is like you know, like you always have that one family member like stay away from that guy. Now Roman is teaming with the this guy's Jacob. What's his name? Tamatanga.
Tamatanga and Tangaloa. Tangaloa used to work for WWE.
Yeah, they say Tamatanga. Oh, Tamatanga is really that's the cousin that we stay the fuck away from. Now Roman is listening to him, and that could be like Roman's going crazy. Roman's like being more vicious, more ruthless than before, and now Cody Rhodes really has to stop him at WrestleMania. It's like this guy's going crazy. He's turned his back on his cousins. The Girls Destiny have beaten up even Solo. Like now, Cody, like they're really out of control. Like he's gone off the deep end. He's like Roman's gone off the deep end with the Girls of Destiny. I think that's the way that you can get it up to WrestleMania with that. And then at WrestleMania, you have the Usos versus God, Cody versus Roman. Roman wins, and Roman wins, and then eventually Austin Theory beats them, which is I still think what they're gonna do. I still think Austin Theory.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I'm gonna tell you this much, Andrew Lee, and I told you I don't know if we talked about this. LA Knight's not getting that push, no matter what anyone thinks.
Why do you say that? That's actually very interesting. Why?
I don't think that Vince believes in him. I think we can cheer him till the cows come home. I don't think they're going to go with him. And I'll tell you, here's the reason why. Number one, he didn't win Money in the Bank, which is fine. But then he wasn't even on SmackDown this week. He was in the dark match. Now they did put it on Twitter after people complained, but that to me is a sign that we don't believe in this guy. We'll give the live crowd him so they don't chant for him during the show, but that's all you get. We'll give you drips and drabs of this guy, and he can maybe be the next Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but he's not going to be the guy. So get that out of your fucking head. And I think by this time of year, they are going to go out of their way to make sure we don't give a shit about LA Knight by the end of the year.
Well, one of the arguments I heard about not putting the briefcase on him was because Roman Reigns is not losing anytime soon the title, and they were like, if you put the what?
I'm beat Seth.
Yeah, I guess, but I think if you have that briefcase, they're probably expecting you to go after Roman, and they were like, we don't want to kill LA by making him lose as well. But you're right. It's weird that he wasn't even on SmackDown, but he just did like a dark match thing, right? Or a dark.
They're not getting behind him, and I don't want to hear. It's not the age thing. It's not because fucking AJ Styles was the same age, and they done wonders with him for like fucking 8 years now. It's they don't see anything in him. Vince ultimately does not see shit in him. That's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
That's possible, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you right now, people are gonna whine and complain. He's going nowhere fast. and I'll be if I'm wrong, I'll be very shocked.
Well, let's hope you are wrong. Let's hope.
I don't think I'm going to be wrong. I think they're going to Damian Sandow him. WWE has realized this is what I found. So WWE put up a graphic that said Roman Reigns surpassed Hogan's first reign, and Ryan Mahar was this comedian who always, and I wrote to him, I go, that's false. No, it's true. He's the longest reigning champion if you only count the days after WrestleMania 1. And I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. By that logic, if we just count the days Friends was on the air, Razor Ramon is the longest reigning champion in WWE history. Like, you can't just like artificially make up days. But you know what I mean? Because at that point, anyone can be the greatest if you just like do these. Like, no, he did not pass. He goes, whatever, Ray. Like, this is how it is. Are you also going to say that Andre got slammed by Hogan before WrestleMania 3? It's just the way it is. And I'm like, but he did get slammed by Hogan before WrestleMania 3. So now people used to be like, WWE's just making up facts. They actually follow the WWE's nonsense. They go with it. And I think the fact they've conditioned the fans to accept bullshit is very interesting to me. The only reason that I accept that this is the first time Hogan slammed Andre is because I was a fucking 5-year-old and there's no internet, you know? But even as soon as I get a black and white magazine, the magazine said Hogan has slammed Andre 3 or 4 times before this, by the way. You know what I mean? And it's weird. It's weird that like, and I think that's the WWE knows like, well, oh, you like LA Knight? We're gonna beat it into you that you do not like LA Knight.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but this is why I don't think titles don't mean anything. You know, I know like we had this talk a long time ago, but I was like, WWE, they're gonna keep doing this. They're gonna make up numbers and make up facts that kind of to their own benefit. And this is a very good example of why I don't think belts mean.
If you just count the days at the WrestleMania 1, Roman.
Yeah, that's come on, like that's crazy that they're doing that. And here's the thing: you are right. There's people buying that, right? Yeah. There's people who are accepting that. So these titles really don't mean anything at all. They don't. They don't mean anything.
It's just insane. And I said, dude, if you just count January 25th, 2018, I'm the most successful comedian of all time. Like,
it's like going like, you know, on Friends, the best looking one out of all 3 guys was Ross because he dated the hottest women on the show. And you're just like, bro, you know that's all like fake, right? Like, you know, like they picked the actresses. He didn't actually get them. Be like, no. Ross is the hottest one based on that. It's like, well, that's what you're arguing, kind of, I think. You know, wrestling's not real. It's like all made up. So I know people love to fucking emphasize the importance of the titles, but I'm like, I don't. They're just a prop. It's just a prop to me.
It's just you can't make up numbers to be like this is significant.
Look, you can't, but they are.
But the thing about it is
proving that they can.
Because once you fall out of favor, they don't want you to keep that record. Like once Demolition fell out of favor, they could not wait to have that record smashed.
Yeah,
but it's like you should celebrate. You should when Gunther beats the Honky Tonk Man's record, which I hope he does, by the way. You should celebrate that. You should have Honky Tonk Man come out and be like, "Yo, like I can't like wow, that's really impressive that you did that," and like celebrate the Honky Tonk Man that he kept that for years. It's like, dude, like it's almost like they're embarrassed that Honky Tonk Man had that record. They're gonna mention him like offhandedly and then like celebrate Gunther, but it's like, dude, no, that's worthy of celebration and people like that shit. But then when you just make up numbers, it's just like, shut the fuck up. But they've gotten people to condition to like follow their made up shit.
So if it was like a real thing and it really did matter, that's what they would do. Like in baseball, they would
come out and congratulate.
Yeah, and like if you look at baseball, they have like fucking like Roger Maris's family or something sit in the fucking audience when Mark McGwire was beating his fucking record, right? But because none of this stuff is actually real, it don't fucking matter. They can make shit up. And I think,
well, that's why it's up to people like dude, I was listening to Lapsed Fan and I didn't realize this, but because nobody talked about dude when WWE first got on USA in 1983, I didn't realize this until today. They don't mention this. He was showing matches from other companies of the wrestlers he would eventually sign. So you would tune on like the precursor to primetime wrestling and Raw, and Vince would be like, In the AWA, we're going to see Hulk Hogan taking on Jesse the Body Ventura. And then over in Mid-South, we're going to see Junkyard Dog take on da-da-da. And then from there in Memphis, we're going to see da-da-da. And then in our company, we're going to see. So he was like, he already had his eyes set on these people, but he's showing them on his show. He's showing other companies. And the other companies thought, oh, Vince is giving us free airtime. What a dumb fuck. But he was secretly about to steal those guys. Nobody talks about that. And to me, it's like, that's fucking crazy that he did that. Like, he kicked off his first show showing other companies. That's wild to me. And but like, that's something that should be talked about. People don't talk about it. There's so many things about wrestling no one talks about. And it's like, but then you want to make up these numbers.
And I would say this: if you're one of those people who does think titles mean something or is offended by this, here's the thing I would say to that: that makes sense too, because WWE spent decades pushing the idea that titles mean something important into our head since we were kids, and now they just did like a fucking 180. So don't be like, you're not stupid. You're just like, there's just like what fucking happened, man.
They just the thing about it is long title reigns were great in the 70s and 80s. And in the 90s, it wasn't so great to do them. But I think that they are tired of like saying like Honky Tonk Man is the longest reigning champion. Bruno Sammartino is the longest reigning champion. But it's like, dude, no one cares. Like, Roman could lose the belt. If you tell me Roman's going to lose the belt, win it back 6 times between now and WrestleMania, I'm fine with that. Just give me a good story. I don't need Roman to have the belt for like 12 more years.
It's
but, like, business is booming. So what can I say?
Yeah, it's like when America sold us the idea of like, in order to be successful, you got to own a house and a picket fence and all that. That's not true, right? That's not success. It's just like,
what success
that idea was fucking forced on us for so long. We just believe it, but then now it's changed. So you either have to adapt, or you can hold on to that old idea and just be depressed that it's not happening. But you gotta make your own choices.
You know what success really is? Having a wrestling podcast that covers Supertape Volume 1. That's what I do.
I'll tell you one thing. True success is reviewing a pay-per-view that's only 2 hours long. That's true success.
This wasn't. Actually, the pay-per-view is only 18 minutes long.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Wasn't it even 18 minutes? No.
It was a very short match. I'm glad we didn't do the movie in the match, because the match is so fucking short.
I won't lie to you. If this movie was on Peacock, I was gonna watch it just so I could talk about it, but it's not on Peacock. I don't know where
it used to be on Amazon. They took it off. I don't know why they did that, but I think it was also on the network for a minute. But yeah. So back in 1989, at the end of the year, they did No Holds Barred, the match, the movie. You'd watch the movie, then immediately go into the match, which was pre-taped weeks ago, when they were the time to put that, because I remember as a kid, I wanted to see this match after it happened. You can't just put out a tape that's 18 minutes long. So instead, it was included at the end of this Supertape Volume 1, which is their compilation of matches around WWE and segments. And that way, and I as soon as I saw it, I rented it mainly because I wanted to see the last match. But there's a whole 90 minutes before this match. So you want to get into Supertape Volume 1? Well, overall, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Overall, what do you think of Supertape Volume 1 as a presentation?
I think it was, if I was in the 80s and I fucking got this VHS, I think if I was renting it, I feel like I would have got my money's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I like about the old WWE presentation? It's very relaxing.
Yeah, it's very relaxing. That's a good way to describe it.
It's not like the end of the world. Like, I feel like now they don't know how to make the show relaxing, and I feel like the fans are gonna like get pissed if they try to make a relaxing show. But this just feels like, I remember when I used to rent these tapes, it was like I'm killing 2 hours before dinner. Like, I'm killing from 5 to 7.
Yeah, this is like, there's no stakes at all. It's just something that I could watch, something that I enjoy watching. Then I'm gonna see some stuff in it where I can just watch it and enjoy it. If you're, what this is for? This is for people who are wrestling fans.
Yeah,
it's not for. Sometimes I think part of the reason why when we give such negative reviews for the NWA pay-per-views is because these are like big pay-per-views, and we're like, why would you do this fucking garbage on a big pay-per-view, right? Like, because the stakes are high, and we're like, what the fuck are you doing? And if it was instead, like if we saw Abdul the Butcher versus Carlos Colon on like maybe like a compilation like VHS thing, like we just like the super tape, I think we would be better about it.
No, it's still one
That's
of the
still
worst
terrible.
matches. Still horrible. By the
Yeah.
way, so we're at the end of the 80s. We're going into the 90s. And before we get, I just want to give one final thought.
Okay.
I don't feel any sympathy or bad for anyone who was run out of business by Vince McMahon in the 80s, especially after watching all this. Everyone got what they deserved.
Maybe except for Sam Houston. I always feel like Sam Houston
All
could have
right.
got.
Well, he wasn't running. I'm talking about Lee Anderson, Vern Gagne, all those
Oh
guys.
yeah, yeah.
Jimmy
Definitely if
Crockett.
somebody
They
ever
all got what
argued
they deserved.
if somebody wanted to argue with me that Vince McMahon killed the territories, I would make with good reasoning an argument on how badly NWA shot themselves in the foot.
And
100%.
AWA.
Yeah, NWA, I'm sorry. Yeah. And I would actually point out fucking Starcade stuff and I would point out all the bullshit. And I would even fucking say to people who say that, did you actually watch the first six Starcades? I would ask them, be like, did you watch the first six Starcades in full? Because I fucking did. And I could tell you how badly they fucking are.
Listen,
I,
the way TV was growing, cable TV and stuff from the 80s into the 90s, if Vince McMahon didn't do this, someone was going to do it. And it might have been one of these guys. Maybe, Vince McMahon is like, I'm just going to stay in New York. Jim Crockett might have expanded. Bill Watson might have been. Someone was going to expand. Or a new player would have came in. These morons just sitting around. I'll fucking, including Vince, I'll take him over too. Someone was going to expand. It was Vince. These guys didn't know what they were doing. The end.
hey, you know how like I've always heard the argument about how the NWA shouldn't have bought the UWF,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how it killed. That's part of the reason why they got killed. You okay, man?
Yeah. I think because I've been touching my cat a lot, I got sometimes my eyes bother me.
Oh, okay. But you know how like they say like he overpaid for the UWF and it fucking like helped make him bankrupt, right? Um, that's how they got Lex Luger and Sting, right?
No, that's how they got Sting, not Lex Luger.
Oh yeah, they got. How did they get Lex Luger then?
He just signed with them.
Oh, he just said so. Sting was able to come over because of the UWF deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think Sting was worth that money? Right, it's a big name. That's a fucking big
It
name.
is, but
That's a
they
big
didn't
deal.
capitalize on him. So I think if they capitalized on him, he would have been worth the money. I think ultimately he was. Um, I don't know because Sting did a lot, but it's not like both WCW stood in their own way with Sting. They didn't capitalize on Sting the way they should have.
Yeah.
We remember Sting fondly because we were kids back then, and he's the one thing that stuck out to us. But the fact that you can make that argument shows how badly they fucked up Sting because that's how much you believe in Sting. That shows you how they could have went all the way with him, but they weren't smart enough to.
I think it's kind of interesting how Sting is always presented as like a WCW original, and he's not even a WCW original.
I mean, he was because
Right.
it wasn't called WCW when he came over. So,
Well, I would say he's more like a UWF original.
I
Like
mean,
when I look at
but
like
then
when
if
I
you're
look
gonna go
at
by that,
AEW,
John Cena is an OVW original, or what's the company in?
no, because John Cena in OVW was presented as the prototype. That's different.
Well, Sting was a Blade Runner before he was.
He wasn't called Sting with the face paint and all that shit.
Eventually was, but first he was a Blade Runner. He was
Yeah,
Sting
but
more, and he was Sting very briefly in UWF. So
like I'll give you an example, like Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin, right? I don't consider them AEW originals because they were that before on the indies, and
yeah,
they
Sting
reason guys
wasn't
that got
Sting
signed with
wasn't
the
really
W.
Sting at the amount of time you think he was in UWF. So he's a WC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it would be like Orange Cassidy becomes Orange Cassidy, and 3 months later he's in AEW.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would say like in AEW, like the Acclaim are actually an
Yes.
AEW
Yeah.
product, and I would say like if you're looking at WWE, Big E is like an actual WWE product because he was trained solely by them, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like someone like Seth Rollins doesn't count because Seth Rollins got his training on the Indies. He was in Ring of Honor before he came over and stuff, right? But and he was already a name before he came over to WWE. But I always feel like Sting was a name in the UWF first, with the name Sting, with the fucking face paint, with the fucking short blonde
Yeah, but
hair.
like nobody was tuning in UWF to see Sting, and the UWF was barely seen by anybody. It's not like it's a national promotion.
Okay, all right, well, something to consider.
I
But
mean,
all right, I'm ready to move on.
when he became, I mean, that's like this thing. AJ Styles is a WCW guy because he was in WCW for 3 months at the end. So,
Um,
I mean, if you really think about AJ Styles' character in WCW, is the same character today. It's not much different.
is it really? Was he like the phenomenal one? Like
Yeah, I mean, he's always been the phenomenal one. Yeah.
not in WCW.
In WCW, he was hailed as like this big deal, like this really talented him and Air Paris. Yeah. He was talked
I
about.
was watching WCW back then. That's not what I was.
I was too. He stood out. I mean, they fucking made sure he stood out. Like, why? I don't remember a lot of those other guys in that tournament. They made it. They didn't fucking make a big deal like he's like going to be a world champion, but they were like, keep your eye on this guy.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, this is a good
Dude,
question.
it's
If
like what you're saying. Sting was that at the UWF. So
okay,
yeah, if
that's a
UWF
fair
stayed in
point.
business, you have more of an argument. But no,
Yeah, okay. You know, this could be a good question for the listeners. If you're listening to this, if all four of you are listening to this, and you guys want to put in what your thoughts are,
you
please
if,
let us know in the YouTube chats
if
or whatever.
you are a 90-year-old man who watched UWF
Yeah,
religiously,
yeah, let us know. No,
goodness.
Sting was really from.
Sting
All
was, let me tell you, there was this
right,
angle
let's
in
get it.
episode 12. The fucking
Listen, Eddie Kingston's already gone through 4 slices of cake. Let's get to it.
let's get to Super Team. Let's review
Yeah.
it.
By the way, if you're watching this on the Super Tape one on Peacock, it's 2 hours. The introduction to this, it is fantastic. It is like they're showing like clips of like wrestlers from the 80s, and it's like, men in like these costumes hitting each other, and the music, it sounds like like Take on Me by IHA, like IHA and or
Yeah,
it sounds like 80s music, and it just doesn't fit with what they're showing you. And I think I just found that really hilarious. But it's great. It's fucking fantastic. It's so 80s, and it kind of takes us to the Coliseum Video Set headquarters, which I wish they still had this. I would love it if they still presented like stuff like this in this fucking headquarters. And Sean Mooney's there, and he goes, "We're gonna be showing you the best of the best." I'm like, "Yeah, the best of the best." And we're gonna have profiles of bushwhackers, Bobby Heenan. There's gonna be a steel cage match. The universe requested all this, so we're gonna WWF delivers it. I like. How do you feel about the intro? Just the intro, with the music and everything.
I love it.
I love it. Yeah.
Everything I love
Don't
about
you
it.
wish that? Don't you wish that stage setup, is still around?
Yeah, I wish that I wish that they would. I wish they would go back to like the primetime wrestling format where it's like two guys are really funny introducing the matches. Like I don't let them. They'll never do that, but it's
They should do that for like stuff like main event.
yeah.
If they did that for like main event or one of those other shows, like if they did it for like 205
The
Live,
problem the
Mhm.
problem is they'll never let they'll never let two announcers be like Gorilla and Bobby ever again. They just never,
Why?
because Vince is Vince.
That's too bad. Okay. So the first match we're gonna get is actually a fan requested match.
I don't believe
A
that.
fan named Matthew Mello
I,
wanted to see Mr. Perfect versus Randy Garvin. I was thinking about this. Is this for real, or do you
no,
think
they probably had Shane McMahon write out that crayon.
oh, they showed a postcard, or I was like thinking like maybe I wonder if like Vince McMahon went to all his wrestlers, was like, guys, we gotta put in a match for this tape. If a fan requests it, you're gonna get some money if you're part of the tape. So like fucking Ronnie Garvin like told his like nephew, like, hey, I need you to write in that you want to see a match of mine.
What kid wants to see Ronnie Garvin versus Mr. Perfect?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking.
Of
It was
all
like
you can request any match in WWE, you're gonna request Ronnie Garvin versus Mr. Perfect.
yeah. So this fan requested match, yeah, is rugged Ron Garvin versus Mr. Perfect. They both get to cut promos before this match begins, addressing Matthew Mello. And Ronnie Garvin like he's the first promo, and he's thanking for the fan for the request, and he goes, he goes like, "Oh, Mr. Perfect is perfect," but you know what? Everything's perfect until they collapse like a bridge. And I was like, "Wait a minute, what the fuck is he talking about? Collapse like a bridge?" And then he goes, "I'm gonna be the one who's gonna collapse Mr. Perfect like the way I collapse bridges." And I was like, "Is he come? Is he like admitting a crime? What is he? I'm gonna collapse a bridge."
Maybe like that's his new gimmick. He like blows up bridges. He's like,
Yeah, he
what if
sounds
I
so
become the
like.
what if I become like the guy that demolishes bridges? I'm the demolitioner, Ronnie Garvin.
Yeah, can you imagine a wrestler today being like, "I'm gonna blow up a building the way I'm gonna blow you up in the ring"? Like, can you imagine someone saying that right now? You would be like, "Dude, what the fuck are you saying?" Right? Like, you can't say shit like that. It's fucking weird. But also, this is why I still don't see anything in Ronnie Garvin. Mr. Perfect cut a shorter promo, which actually made more sense. He said he's got the genius, and he goes, "Matthew Mello, you're not a genius for requesting this match because I'm gonna beat the shit out of this guy." And I was like, there you go, Mr. Perfect. So match number one, rugged Ron Garvin versus Mr. Perfect. Genius reads a fucking poem in the beginning. That's some rhyme. I fucking hate these. Do you get a? I mean, is it just me, or do you get annoyed at the fact that his poems don't rhyme? Because I get really annoyed by
Yeah, but that's why he's there to do it.
I guess fair point. Fair point. Fair point.
You're like I'm really annoyed by the genius. So that was his job.
That's a good point. Good point. Alfred Hayes and Tony Schiavone are on commentary. And the match, Ronnie Garvin just throws some punches. That's all he's good for. Does his fucking Garvin stomps. It's perfect selling for the most of the match. Finally, they collide, and Ronnie Garvin puts in the inside cradle, but Mr. Perfect reverses it for the win. And afterwards, Ronnie Garvin, like a fucking sore loser, has to punch fucking Mr. Perfect after the match. But what did you think?
Oh, it was really good. I thought I was gonna be bored from this match. It was really good, and the crowd was really into it. For
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie Garvin versus Mr. Perfect, it must have been like the first match of the night or something, because the crowd
That's probably what it was. Yeah.
was really hot for this match, and I'm like, but I thought it was really good. It was fast paced. It was probably one of the best Ronnie Garvin matches I've ever seen. So
Yeah, that's saying a lot because there's not a lot of good Ronnie Garvin matches.
no, and then there's only one more Ronnie Garvin match, and then he vanishes. So
Really? Does he go back to WCW?
now he just goes away.
He just goes away. All right. After this, we're gonna get a manager profile, and it's Bobby Heenan. And Bobby Heenan talks about how Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior have huge super egos. Jake Roberts the Thief, Dusty and Sapphire smell. Rick Rude is great. His whole family is great. And this is actually isn't a profile. This is a promo.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, how was the profile? What did you think about this manager's profile?
I liked it. I always like Bobby Heenan talking. I mean, why not? And
How was
he
the
kind of gave.
profile though?
I know, but he kind of gave like a good overview of what was going on in the company at the time. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So I mean, I liked it. I mean, I thought there was going to be more like an interview with him. Said it was him just shitting on everyone, but it was pretty good.
All right. Then comes probably what I think is probably the best parts of this entire what is this, VHS, I guess. It is Gene Okerlund. He's in a car and they're driving in the wilderness. They're looking for the bushwhackers. Gene is sitting at the fucking shotgun position. He's the fucking worst wingman in a drive ever. He's got the wrong map the whole time for some reason. So I don't know what kind of directions he's been giving. And he's like telling the driver how to fucking drive. Remember when we did a road gig? If you were like that, I would have fucking kicked you out of the car. If you were
Why
like,
would it be like that?
if you had control of the GPS and you're giving me the wrong fucking directions and the whole time you're telling me how to drive, hey, watch out for that. Watch out for that. I've been like, get the fuck yourself. That's how he is. Anyway, they're in the wilderness. They get to a shack and out of the shack comes the bushwhackers and they go like, hey, we're cooking a buzzard in the back. And then we cut away for our second match. But what did you think of this first skit of the bushwhackers and Gene Okerlund? I liked it though. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it was better than that Street Profits Viking Raider thing. This is
my god.
Yeah.
When they were playing golf that one time, right?
Yeah. Yo,
Let me ask you a question. 20 years from now, do you think people will look at that the same way they look at this?
no, that's always gonna be garbage because those guys don't know how to act. Those guys don't know how to be endearing. There was something about, even though bushwhackers are like not the greatest wrestlers, there's something interesting about them, and they're more over than the Viking Raiders, the Street Profits, probably will ever be.
Okay, interesting. All right.
And I don't listen. I'll take the Street Profits over bushwhackers any day of the week in the ring. But if they vanish tomorrow, who cares? I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but
Okay. We're gonna go to.
but do you agree? I'm
No,
just
I
saying,
was gonna say I think Montez Ford.
yeah.
Personally, I think he's gonna be one of the biggest stars in wrestling.
Okay, but they gotta move on that.
I know you're right. They got to move on that. Angelo Dawkins, he has improved a lot too. But you're right. Yeah, Steve Street Profits. At the end of the day, they're
They
not
should.
gonna.
The
They're just
weird thing
attacking.
about the bushwhackers are not good workers at all, and we'll get into that. But they have something. They have something that you can't teach, which is why people still remember them, and why
Yeah.
these guys are sticking up the ring, and the entire crowd is doing this.
Oh man.
And these guys have never had a good match.
Speaking of stinking up the ring,
Yeah.
there's gonna be 3 bushwhacker matches in a row,
Yeah.
and I could not fucking watch this in one sitting. I had to
Oh,
like
I
step
watched it
away.
one sitting.
Dude, you watched all 3 bushwhacker matches in a
I
row?
watched the
How
whole
did
thing.
you? I couldn't do it, dude. I couldn't do it. By the time I got through 2 matches and I found out there's a third one, I just fucking like I turned it off. I was like, that's like this is enough super tape for one day. I had to come back to it like 2 days
Dude,
later.
their debut match which is the first match with the Bolsheviks.
Mhm.
The match was so bad and so long.
Oh my god,
so
yeah,
bad.
dude, I don't know how.
And that's their first match in the company.
Oh my god, this is match number 2. As Ray mentioned, this is gonna be the Bushwhackers' debut match in WWF TV. It is Bushwhackers versus the Bolsheviks. This is December 30th, 1988. On commentary, you got Lord Alfred Hayes, Hillbilly Jim, and this guy named Ron Trongard. I
Yeah,
don't
he was
know
horrible. He was hard.
Yeah,
He
they're
made
on
it worse.
commentary.
Him and Hillbilly Jim made the match worse.
Yeah, so that's who's on commentary. So basically, what happens is Zukov accidentally clotheslines his tag team partner, Nikolai Volkov. Not Nikolai Volkov. Nikita Koloff. No,
No,
Nikolai Volkov.
Volkov
It is
and
Nikolai
Zukov.
Volkov. Yeah.
Nikita Koloff's not here.
Yeah, yeah. Nikolai Volkov out of the fucking out of the ring, and then the Bushwhackers hit a battering ram move of theirs into Zukov, and then they hit the double gutbuster on Zukov for the win. Thoughts on this terrible?
This match is horrible. It went too long, but the crowd was into it, and that's what I'm saying about that. These guys have something, and I don't know if it can be taught, but like, you know what I would do in the Performance Center? That's what I would do, or even AEW. Tonight, before Dynamite, I'd make them watch these 3 matches, right? No, hold on. Stay with me here.
Wait, all 3 in a row?
All 3 in a row. And then, like, those matches were horrible, right? And they will be, yeah, it was fucking terrible. All right. Did you notice every match, somehow they got more over, even though they're sticking.
I was actually going to point that out, but yeah.
And they're like, yeah. Okay, well, how do you think they did that? They must have done something right that they're over, not just with little kids either. There's fucking guys in their 20s and 30s doing this.
Oh gosh.
They're freaking out for these guys. So like, what are they doing? And study them with me. What are they doing? What are they doing? Because they're doing something, and you guys aren't doing it. And meanwhile, here's the thing: Bushwhacker Butch is just doing like a shitty headbutt, and he wrestled into his 60s, and you're like doing like a fucking spin into a fucking table, and no one cares about it. So,
yeah, no, that's a very good point because remember, like I said, this debut match is December 30th, 1988.
yeah.
The crowd is kind of into it, but they're still new, so they're not too into it. We're gonna go to the next match after this, which is gonna be on June 5th, 1989. So if you do your math, that's about 5 months later.
Yeah, and the crowd's nuts.
There is a noticeable difference in crowd reaction. They go ape shit. It's almost like LA Knight is in the Bushwhackers. And Ray is absolutely right. There's grown men doing that stupid fucking walk.
Yeah.
And it's they're not more popular because their wrestling got better. That's for damn sure, right?
No.
So there is something exactly. You're right. I would be like, the wrestling's not better. So what the fuck is the difference? 6 months later, right? But we'll get into that. First, we got to go back to the shack, back to the fucking Outback. Gene is with the Bushwhackers. They're at the grill, remember, because they're cooking up a buzzard. And while Gene's talking, it's like the Bushwhackers got Tourette's because they can't even stand still. They're just like constantly like I fucking love it.
That's it. I put this as an audio, so you can't see me when I'm doing the bushwhacker.
Yeah. Dude, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the One Man Gang. Because if you ever watch the One Man Gang during the promos, he's just constantly like moving while like Slick is talking. He's just constantly moving. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just keep doing Tourette's. And then like Butch like tastes Luke. He starts licking Luke, and then they all start eating the fucking buzzard. And we're gonna come back to them after this next match. This is match number 3. It's Bushwhackers versus Bad News Brown and the Brooklyn Brawler from June 5th, 1989. Like I said, 5 months later, crowd is fucking going ape for these guys. Alfred Hayes and Tony Schiavone on commentary. Once again, they hit the double gut buster on Brawler for the win. What did you think of this match, Ray?
This was really bad, but it was short. Bad News Brown wasn't even in the ring, was he?
No, there was a point where he was in the ring, but very minimal. Very minimal.
Yeah, it's just like, no, but like, hey, they're over. I mean, they're over. That's the only thing I got out of this. Like, they're really over. But wow, what another. They loved it. The crowd loved it. What a horrible match.
Isn't it crazy how 5 months later, how over they are? It's legit like 5 months later. It's crazy how over. All right, so we go back to the shack in the barbecue, and Gene is eating this fucking buzzard. He's loving it. He's asking for the recipe, and they start talking about the powers of pain. And Gene wants more of this buzzard, but he starts developing some kind of weird tick while he's eating it.
Yeah, right? He's becoming a bushwhacker.
Do you like this? Like, I like the fact that they're like doing this story, and they're like putting in.
Yeah, no, it's good. Instead of Gene just, if it was like 3 seconds of Mean Gene being like, these guys are so weird, it would have like got boring. The fact that Mean Gene is like becoming a bushwhacker is kind of funny.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to match number 4: Bushwhackers versus Powers of Pain. This one's kind of like a weird house show. You can kind of see it. They show you
Canada. You can see the Molson sign in the back.
Oh, they show you a kid in the audience wearing like a Snuggie shirt. I fucking wanted that shirt so bad.
Yes, that looked cool. I like that.
I know, that was a cool looking shirt. Yeah, Snuggie the bear. Snuggles. That's Snuggles the bear. I'm sorry.
The other thing I noticed, I don't know if you noticed, but like because of that ramp, you really can't move. Mr. Fuji was literally standing still the entire match until it was time for like his spot. Because he couldn't move anyway. He was just literally like just standing there like just waiting for like his cue.
Oh.
Like he didn't react to anything. I'm not even sure he knew he was being filmed. He literally like I couldn't stop watching. He literally is like standing there like a statue. Just like waiting for like
what is cute?
Yeah, he's like he's not even really paying attention to the match. He has his head down. It was really kind of funny, but also it's like there was nowhere for him to go. He can't like move around because that fucking ramp. So like that ramp, like the ramp looks cool, but I could tell like that you can't really leave the ring with that fucking thing.
Yeah. Ray mentions Mr. Fuji, and basically the finish happens, and Mr. Fuji comes in to attack one of the Bushwhackers. The referee sees this, and he gives the Whackers disqualification victory. So, they got 10 points now in the fucking Iron Man tournament. Yeah.
This was another, but I do like the commentary. The commentary made the match better.
It's Gorilla Monsoon and Lord Alfred Hayes. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, but there were some spots where like the Bushwhackers outsmarted the Powers of Pain that were kind of clever. But 3 awful matches. But again, you have to give the people involved credit.
Yeah, yeah. If you are like a big fan of like it's the wrestling in ring work that's most important. These matches are not for you, 100%.
Do not
Okay?
watch them.
Yeah. Back to the Shack. The Whackers are like, "Hey, Gene, you've changed." And then Gene Okerlund comes back into frame, and he dressed like a bushwhacker, and he's acting like well, he's turned into a bushwhacker, and he's like, "Oh, this buzzard tastes great. I give it 6 stars." Like, I like the way it finished. It's like he's now
Yeah.
a bushwhacker
And then
because
like
he ate
the crew takes Mean Gene away. They gotta like get him help for becoming like.
yeah, yeah. I liked it. It was fun. It was fun. I like the way they fucking set this up. It was great.
No, it was good fun.
It was. You know what? If they had right now they have like NXT level up and shit like that, right? If they take one of these like main event and level up, they're all like all nothing shows. But if they took one of these shows and it turned it into this kind of show format, I think I would watch it, actually.
Yeah.
It would just be stupid and just for like kids and stuff like that. I think Sean Mooney back at the Coliseum headquarters. He's with Lord Alfred Hayes. And they're gonna do a segment called the Call of the Action. And it's basically it's like they're gonna name all these moves, and they feature the Rockers, and they show you a clip of the Rockers, and then they replay it, and they name all the moves in that sequence that Lord Alfred Hayes is basically talking us through. They do skim the cat, leapfrog, clothesline, double drop kick, and then they do the next move match where they show you a double drop, elbow drop, a nip up, and a human cannonball, and then like Irish whip, double face buster, all this bulldogs and stuff like that, and then their finisher, which is like a double fish flying fist. I fucking like this, but how did you feel about it? Where they're
Yeah, I
going
liked
over?
it. It was also really fun to see the Rockers, like all the spots they were doing. Like they had pretty creative squash matches. Like the one moment where Marty is like waiting out, and I can tell like they're using camera angles they don't usually use. Marty's waiting outside to catch the guy, and then he catches the guy, and Sean does the bulldog. It was like
Yeah,
really creative. I thought like, dude, they were a really good tag team. They were like probably top 5. I think they're better than the Hardy Boys. The more I watch the Rockers, I'm like, they were better than the Hardy Boys. Sorry.
when
I'll
I
change
was a
it.
kid, I was a big Rockers fan,
They are
and
they're one of the best tag teams of all
they
time.
were really good. You know why? Because they do a lot of when he was showing this. What I think makes them really good is they did a lot of tandem tag team offense.
Yeah.
Meaning they did a lot of moves where it's both of them together. You
Yeah.
know, and this was a great example of it. I wish they should do something like this still. You know, like go over to. Well, how come they don't do this? Do you think it's because like they don't want to tell people the names of moves because like
I
then
don't
you
think
might.
kids get the shit out of the names and moves anymore. You just
Oh, then why did they even fucking put it in here?
no now. Now I'm talking about now.
Oh, back then, but he was cool
Yeah,
with that shit.
back then he still was like whatever. Yeah.
Mhm. You know, I used to always be like, is it nip up or kip up? But based on this, it's nip up, guys.
Yeah. The nips are up for sure,
The
Michael.
nips are up, yeah. Then, by the way, Call of Action is still going on. He shows Jimmy Snuka next. Jimmy Snuka does a side
Yeah,
headlock, running shoulder
it was
block.
cool to see the name of the moves, but Jimmy Snuka was way less impressive than the Bushwhackers.
Yeah,
And the
it
Rockers
was.
also in the Bushwhackers, he's less impressive.
Yeah. By the way, I like this because Lord Alfred Hayes shows that his signature, there's two variations of it, the Superfly body press and Superfly splash. And I was like, oh, I like that he kills it as two variations of it. So interesting. I don't know if they ever do something called the Call of the Action ever again, but I enjoyed it. I wish they had kept doing it. We're gonna go to match number 5. It's Rick Rude versus Tito Santana. Lord Alfred Hayes on commentary with Ron Trongard once again. And this match, it starts off with one of the best tests of strengths I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. Dude, there's fucking spit flying out of Tito Santana's like clenched teeth because of how much pain he's in trying to fucking overpower him. He goes down and he comes back up and he brings Rick Rude down to his knees. The crowd is going crazy over this test of strength, and it's literally nothing. Like, you know, like they're not really doing this, and it's just like all pure acting. This is the best test of strength I've ever seen. It's so good. The selling from both these guys are incredible. I know Rick Rude died early, but like Tito Santana really should have been like teaching a wrestling school where he teaches like just selling, you know, like
Tito Santana is very underrated, and I'll tell you
Yeah.
why, because he never was able. They never let him rock it on pay-per-view. He had great matches on these Coliseum videos where he was able to do extended times, but on pay-per-view they never let him do a long match. He was always getting
Mhm.
squashed, or he would win a short match, which I think wasn't fair to him. But
You're right.
If they had let Tito like fucking, if I feel like Tito would have benefited a lot of pay-per-views every month back then, because I feel like they would have had no choice but to give him long matches,
Yeah, I
and
think
I
you're
think
right.
he would have got really over.
Or if he was around now, can you think about how long his matches would be on like Raw or SmackDown,
Oh, he'd
right?
be so over, yeah.
Yeah. Tito, I can also understand now why he's always just been a good guy because his selling, like his ability to show that he's in pain or distress, is so convincing. It like he gets the crowd so into it, like the way he goes, the way he groans and stuff like that, just the facials he makes, it's incredible. Um,
You know,
and Rick Rude is great himself.
yeah,
Like Rick Rude, the way like he's selling his back. Like he even tried to mid match, try to do that pose, and he's like, "Oh my back! Oh fuck this fucking guy!" And he has to stop doing it. It's great. I love it.
dude. Yeah, like the rumor always was that like Tito was second or third place when they were gonna go with someone else. Remember when they gave the belt to Brett?
Yeah,
And when you see these matches, you know that like okay, if Vince gets behind this guy and lets him do these type of matches in long form on pay-per-view as the champ, he is going to get over. I'm talking about Tito Santana, even in
yeah,
1992, people would have been like, "What? He got the belt." But then if he was able to cook, if he was able to fucking cook like this, like on pay-per-views and Raw, he would have been super over it, and within seconds, Vince could have got him over.
yeah. I think so. I think the only drawback for Tito at this was maybe he was like his age. That's probably why his age.
Yeah, and I think he wanted to. I think when they did, because he leaves in '93, and it was a mutual thing between him and Vince. But
Mhm.
I honestly feel like Vince said to him, "I'm going to give you the belt." I think Tito would have been like, "Okay, I'll stick around for 2 or 3 more years."
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Remember, like when we were first watching WrestleMania, after Hogan, it was like and Junkyard Dog, he was like third biggest pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah,
So
like if you go back and watch some of the other old Coliseum videos, he has like long matches that are really good like this. And he could have, you know what? He could have been like Seth Rollins.
yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah, yeah. Um, be a champion, but still never like
The
the
guy.
biggest guy. Yeah. Um, anyway, the finish happens when Tito Santana he tries to do a sunset flip over the top rope, but Rick Rude just sits down and holds the rope for the victory. So Tito once again does a job here, but excellent, excellent match.
Yeah, no,
Any
really
final
good match.
thoughts before I move on?
Just a great match, a great example of why both guys were just fucking all stars, and I had a lot of fun. And it's always good to see Tito in a long match.
Yes. Go to match number 6, which I thought was also a surprisingly like I was surprised by this Tito match that how good it was, and I was also surprised by this. Uh, Ted DiBiase and Virgil versus Jake Roberts. We got Tony Schiavone and Lord Alfred Hayes on commentary. So the snake bag is in the corner, and they
Yeah.
keep it in spots where DiBiase accidentally goes to that corner, and he freaks out because he's near the snake bag.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fucking great. I fucking love this storytelling they're doing. There's a point where they show an Asian photographer, and Lord Alfred Hayes goes, "He's an Asiatic gentleman over there. Where do you think he's from? Spain?" And he laughs a little bit. I'm like, yeah, he could be from fucking Spain, asshole. Don't be a racist.
Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, that was fucking crazy.
But to be honest, Lord Alfred Hayes, I actually think he's very good on commentary.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
especially when he's with what's his name?
with Tony Schiavone.
Yeah, with Tony and Gorilla. No, I meant Gorilla actually more so.
Okay, but with Tony, he's good too. You know why? Because he tells like a really good story. He tells like the story of the match a lot. Like he goes, "Oh, well, like I remember when it was like Tito and Rick Rude. He was like, if I was Tito Santana, he shouldn't be doing that. He shouldn't be posing like Rick Rude. He got to stick with his basics. And this is what happened when he did that. Look what happened." And it's like great. But anyway, There's a point in this match of DiBiase versus Jake Roberts that I really loved. It's a great sequence. So DiBiase, he's on the outside and he's talking with Virgil, and fucking Roberts like does a double noggin knocker on them, and then DiBiase's all mad, and then Virgil starts talking shit to Jake Roberts. So Jake starts kind of like chasing him outside the ring, and you see DiBiase coming from behind, and all the fans are like, "Oh shit, he's gonna get ambushed from behind," but nope. Roberts fucking turns around, gets DiBiase, throws him back into the ring. He has the upper hand. But while Jake Roberts gets on the apron, he takes a few seconds to just get one more last word in on Virgil, which will be his undoing. As he rolls into the ring, boom, DiBiase just drops a fist drop right on him. Great smooth transition. There's no wrestler waiting around for the other guy. It's like all boom, boom, boom. And it looks so natural. I fucking love that. I love that sequence. Did you see? You know what I'm talking about? That sequence?
Yeah. It was great.
So good. Yeah. Anyways, the finish comes when Jake Roberts pulls the trunks on DiBiase, who's posing, and he rolls as a schoolboy roll for the win. Afterward, the bad guys are all beating on Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts gets Virgil into the ring, and he brings out the snake, but before anything can happen, DiBiase pulls him free. The fans love this shit. I'm hoping you love this shit too.
Oh yeah, I loved it. This was great. I mean, these two are great workers, and watching them together was fucking. I had a blast watching this match. Another great match. The great thing, these house show, back in the day, the TV match was short. They're like, if you want to see these long matches, you got to go to the house shows, and they would film the house shows for like the regional TV. And so these guys were allowed to have like basically long pay-per-view matches they didn't really have in the pay-per-views. Because if you think about back to this era, the two of the main pay-per-views are gimmick pay-per-views, which again, I love the Royal Rumble, but Survivor Series Royal Rumble are gimmick pay-per-views, which means a lot of these guys weren't allowed to fucking steal the show because they're either in a multi-man match or they're in a Rumble. So it's fun to see them in like these serious matches,
Yeah, well, can you explain this actually? So these two matches, they're house show matches, right?
Yeah.
And they were filmed and commentated over because they were going to be shown.
They were on the MSG network.
Oh,
both from MSG.
These were both shown.
Yeah, and like the Philly shows were shown on Philly TV. Some of the Canadian shows were shown in Canadian TV.
So these matches would actually be shown on TV back then, right?
Yeah.
What were the shows called?
They were just house shows. They didn't call them that. They were just like WWE Live at MSG or WWE Live at the Boston Garden.
Oh, man.
If you couldn't make it, you would watch it, but you'd have to have cable and you could watch it on the local sports network.
Oh, you would have to have cable. No wonder I didn't have cable back then. Oh, okay. That's.
But I remember I watched a few MSG shows at my friend's house. And yeah, so like if you lived in New York, if you think about it, if you lived in New York, you kind of had the pay-per-view model your entire life because they had 12 MSG shows a year and they put them on TV. So
this is so crazy because like the quality of these matches are so good and there's like nothing on the line in neither of these matches, Yeah. And I'm like, why are they doing commentary? I don't get what was this for? For a second, I thought they were like.
Also, Vince was filming all this stuff to put on honestly, if I was WWE, I would film all the house shows too and put stuff out. Like, why not? Like, why not film all this stuff and then be like, oh, but we're putting out a best of Damian Priest DVD and there's gonna be matches from house shows you've never seen. Like, why not just film everything?
Wait, don't they currently film all their house shows?
I hope they do. I don't know.
I hope they do too. Yeah, I don't know if they do, but I hope they do. That's like a good question. If you know, some people, ask them.
Yeah, I'll ask.
Ask them if they film all their house shows. Yeah.
I mean, there's only like 2 or 3 a week now, so they should.
Yeah, they should. You're right. Yeah, you're right. All right. So Sean Mooney, he is with Tony Schiavone. They're at the Coliseum headquarters once again, and I'm going to talk about meeting fans and fans across the world is what this segment is called. What's on your mind? And boy, let me tell you, man, wrestling fans have fucking changed. They look so goddamn normal back then. Not one Bixen span in sight, bro. I'm telling you that right now.
Dude, that guy, how horrendous was his body when I show you that picture of him?
Yeah, he looks like the typical like.
No, dude, he's not typical at all, dude.
No, I've been to a lot of indie shows where there's guys who look just like.
He looks like he works out in reverse. Like, like when he lifts weights, it like affects his body negatively. Like, dude, I've
Dude,
never. His
yeah,
proportions were insane.
yeah. And he's got a lot of acne on his face and stuff like that. Like,
I don't know how you. I don't know, dude. Even when I was like not really working out and I had a belly welly, like everyone's favorite Diana Perazzo, I was not like that. Like I just had a belly. Like everything in his body is misshapen.
remember I told you I went to an indie show and there was a guy acting like he was like good friends with like that indie wrestler Corinne something.
Yeah. He looked like that.
He had like Big Span's body. And
I
like
just I don't know if you spend all day watching wrestling and you spend all day obsessing with wrestling. I don't know why you wouldn't at least attempt to push up. Like I just don't know why.
some
And
wrestlers are all like that.
you know what? You know what? And I was talking to our buddy Josh Alba about this, and he wrote a great point because a wrestling fan, he's so judgmental about everyone on Twitter. Not Josh, Dave Bixpan. He's so judgmental about everyone, and he's so critical of everybody. Like like if CM Punk and AJ Lee were to break up, and it was revealed that CM Punk cheated, he would be so like CM Punk's a bad guy. CM Punk. So, and somebody said that about him, and when Josh said that's Dave Bixpan, you know what the guy said? I'm glad he looks like that. Like I'm glad that's how he looks. You know what I mean? Because he's so fucking judgy, and he's so fucking. I would always do the right thing. He's a fucking disgusting human. I know like people say don't body shame. No, when you look like that, you should be shamed. You should be chased. You're like Frankenstein's monster. People should chase you with pitchforks.
Well, I think it's usually people who do look like that are super judgmental. And I think the reason why it happens is like a psychological thing, meaning
Yeah.
like they probably think people are judging them based on how they
I,
look.
I
So
do
that
judge you.
it's
I do judge you when you look like that. I feel like you have no. When you look that bad, no. There's the difference between being overweight or not taking care of yourself and looking like that. That to me, you put work into looking like shit. Like you wake up and be like, I don't look bad enough. I need to do something. And then you like fucking rub like oils on your face or like you can't look that bad in your 30s. What do you do all day, bro? Come on.
we might be like the only podcast that's like super into body shaming.
To us.
We don't shy from this shit, dude.
Because
Oh my
no,
god.
because like I went to the like look, I was in bad shape. You remember, bro?
I'm still in bad shape.
Hey, bro, but you don't look like that. You fucking go to the buffet and be like, give me one of each, and you don't look like that. So, what
I
is
do
this
go
guy
to
doing?
the
What?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
You like tell me I ordered $97 of Jollibee and I ate it in 4 seconds, and you still look fine. You still you look okay. You don't look like a fucking monster. You look great, actually. You look like, dude. We look like models compared to most wrestling fans. But,
Look like monsters. Oh my god.
yeah,
Oh,
like, dude, like that must be like he must like to look like that. You must like go to like fucking McDonald's. Like, what is the most unhealthiest thing you have here? Like, what will really like just make my body? Oh yeah, the McRib. Okay, give me 6, 7 of those. You just eat them slowly, and then order 9 more, and then you just sit there and that because like it's like you look like garbage. You look like and it's because you don't have any respect for yourself. But you're gonna judge other people. I'm sorry. This is
no, I think it's probably because he's super judgmental because he probably secretly doesn't like himself.
yeah.
Probably.
And
Whatever.
you know what? He's friends with wrestlers. I'm very surprised a wrestler isn't like, hey, bro, I'll pay for your gym membership. Let me just show you a few things.
He's friends with
Friends with
wrestlers.
Joey
Right?
Janela. He's friends with a couple other ones. He was out. There was a bar by me. He took a picture of himself, him and Joey Janela having beers alone together at a table at a because
Wait, Dixon span?
yeah, that they were at Melrose Ballroom, which is right by my house. They went to a bar right there.
Wait, does Dixon span live where we live?
He lives in Brooklyn.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Is
Where do
he
you
a
think
New
he lives?
Yorker?
Yeah.
He's a New Yorker.
Yeah. I don't know if he's always been in New York or he lives in Brooklyn right now. I don't know where, but Brooklyn somewhere.
Oh yeah, he lives in fucking Brooklyn.
Yeah. What do you have like a thing on his apartment? Well, this podcast has now become about this guy.
No,
You know
but I
who
mean, like,
Guys, if you don't know Dave
No, like 'cause New York, you gotta walk around a lot.
well, he don't do it.
So how is he fucking traveling? How does he right? Because like okay, I ate when I was performing regularly, I ate like shit and I ate super late at night because comedy that's just like that. But you know
He's
what
not
was really helping? The amount of walking I had to do almost every fucking day in New York City, right? How the fuck is this guy?
because he's not walking anywhere.
Do you think he's riding one of those little cart things? Those little carts?
No, I'm saying like he writes from he probably like orders food and just sits in his apartment and writes on Twitter and writes like his little opinion pieces about wrestling, about why
Looking
Vince
at his
McMahon,
profile,
about why
I
everyone that works for WWE is evil. He's one of those guys too that everyone who works for WWE is an evil person.
let me read you his profile from Forbes. I am a freelance writer and reporter from Brooklyn, New York, with a knack for investigative and historical coverage of combat sports, having broken stories about the Hulk Hogan versus Gawker lawsuit, the Ultimate Warrior's dealings with WWE, Impact Wrestling's financial difficulties, ethical violations by one of WWE's ringside doctors, and much more. You can follow me on Twitter. View my profile. I write the Babyface versus Heel subscription blog. Okay.
The writer, yeah, that's how he makes his little living. So he doesn't have to go out. He probably just fucking door dashes all his meals.
I wonder if I ever read anything he's ever.
I've read everything that he writes, and listen, I agree that Vince is a piece of shit. Everything he writes is from a slant that everyone in WWE is evil. Everything in WWE is doing is to hurt people. And if Vince McMahon buys you an omelet, it's probably poisoned, and you shouldn't eat the omelet. And it's just like it's tiring after a while. WWE fires someone, that person's automatically good. WWE's dude, he was going crazy when they fired Zelina Vega. When she got rehired, he like went after her. Like, I thought you were gonna like fight WWE. Da, da, da. He's like a fucking
Dude, we should get him on this fucking podcast.
no. I don't want to.
No, we should do. We should totally get.
All right, we gotta get back. We're almost done with this thing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. We went
on this rant about this guy.
And on Vix, yeah. By the way, these fans' questions where they're talking to fans, every question is about like the Ultimate Warrior. They're like, "Do you like the Ultimate? What do you like about the Ultimate Warrior?" Everybody who's answering is all fucking kids. They go compare Ultimate Warrior with Hulk Hogan, dude. One part I had a problem with this was almost everybody they were asking was like a white male. Finally, they showed one black guy. They had one fucking black person. Everybody else was fucking white male. They had a couple of women, and they're basically
maybe like there weren't that many. Maybe that was all that was going to that show that day.
Maybe, but basically the main question they were asking was, who do you think will win in a fight, Warrior versus Hogan? And people were mad split. I like this. This was like getting ready for the fucking next WrestleMania, man.
Yeah, I noticed there were more Hogans than Warriors though.
There were, yeah, but there were.
I was surprised because I know they were trying to get over Hogan. I mean, I'm trying to get over Warrior, but they must have had majority of the people they asked must have said Hogan for them to have picked mostly Hogan picks.
Well, if you notice, a lot of the younger people were picking Warrior, and a lot of the older people were picking Hogan. So it was cool seeing how over Warrior was with the younger generation.
I was thinking to myself, like, some of these older fans are dead now, or like 92 years old.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate.
There were some older guys that were like, dude, the one thing that's gonna like that's us right now. Like who's gonna win? And yeah, we're
I'm sure some of those kids are. I'm sure some of those kids are dead too.
Jesus.
You know, hey, drugs.
They're all like my age. Most of those kids. It's crazy. Yeah. Did you see the merch stand? By the way, I thought all the merch. Even my friend, I watched my friend, and he said, "Oh God, that's the worst merch stand I ever saw." I did like the rocker shirt they were selling though. If I was there, that's the shirt I would have bought. I still want a rocker shirt. I never got a rocker shirt. I still want one.
Wow, you don't have a rocker shirt?
No, and I want one really bad. I love the Rockers always had good shirts, but they never resold them. They've never put them back on sale.
Interesting. All right. So then they're going to show a magazine segment next on Tugboat. This is match number 7. Iron Mike Sharp versus Tugboat Thomas. Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura on commentary. Junior Vince McMahon, he keeps mentioning that Tugboat is 384 pounds. This is 384 pounds. Tugboat does a drop kick, which looks fucking pretty cool for a big fat guy. And he splashes for the win. What do you think about the squash match? I thought it was a good.
It's a good debut for Tugboat,
Yeah.
I can't remember. His Tugboat was like very rarely on TV until Earthquake beat him up. So I always like I was like when I was surprised he showed up so early, but it was a good debut for Tugboat. You know, I liked it when he people didn't like Tugboat. I like Tugboat more than Typhoon. I don't know. I like that. I don't know.
When I was a kid, I like the tug. I like
Yeah,
tugboat.
Tugboat. I don't know why people don't like Tugboat. They should bring back a guy dressing like Tugboat. You know what? Otis should be the new Tugboat.
Oh my God! If Otis could pull it off, Otis could 100% pull it. All
Otis
right,
is to me.
we're gonna go to our eighth and final match. It's a no holds barred steel cage match. We got Macho Man and Zeus versus Hogan and Beefcake.
This is the
Before
reason
they
why we're here.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the whole reason why we're here.
Whole reason why
Before
we're talking.
we even get them to be in the ring, Hogan fucking rips off Beefcake's shirt because he's like, I'm the only one who gets the ripped shirts, brother.
Mm-hmm.
As they're going into the ring, Sherry Martel jams the fucking door on Hogan, and Hogan falls out. So it's 2-on-1 on Beefcake. Sherry locks the door with a fucking chain, and Hogan has to climb over the top to get into the cage, and that's when the fucking action is happening. Crowd is going crazy, nonstop. This whole match from the beginning. Beefcake and Macho Man, they're fighting on top. Sherry climbs to the top, and fucking Beefcake does a double noggin knocker. Macho falls down while fucking Sherry's like dangling from the top. And then Macho Man starts like during this match, Macho Man is directing like Zeus like a fucking kid. Like he's grabbing him by the head, going, "You go over here, man. Fucking go over there," right?
Yeah.
Video quality, by the way, really sucks in it.
Of this match or the whole show?
This match. It's not WWF standards compared to the other matches and stuff like that. Very weird. Earl Hebner takes like a fucking bump because like Sherry Martel like slams the door on him, and then she gives the chain to Macho Man, who wraps around his hand, and he goes up to the very, very top, and he jumps off a Beefcake at the upper hand, and then Beefcake climbs over the top rope. Macho Man is bleeding all over the place. Hogan drops 3 leg drops on Zeus for the win. What did you think?
Man, Macho Man was working overtime in this match. Macho Man, when he got on top of that cage, and it fell, because he fell on his feet and then rolled. I was like, damn, this guy's like just doing stuff to his knees. Nobody, dude, dude, he really was. He's the GOAT. I mean, he really is like one of the best of all time. Just a machine in this match. And wow, they really blew off Zeus in this. Hogan basically was like, "You're never gonna see this fucking guy again."
Yeah, I mean,
it was good though. It was good.
Wrestler.
It was good. It was a good listen for a match where there's an actor. It was good. My friend thought Sherry was a man. He thought that was a drag queen. I mean, no, that's a woman.
Well, she was. I can totally see why. Yeah, I can totally understand.
But it was. I don't know if it. Listen, was it good enough to just if you paid for something that's the only match you see? Is that it? Was it good? No. That's a fucking ripoff.
Yes.
At the end of this tape, yeah, it's a fine way to end the tape. And if it was the final match of a pay-per-view, like if I don't know if they had been doing like I don't know like Armageddon and this like if they had multi pay-per-views and this was the final match, yeah, it's a fine main event. But if it just for one match, this was a ripoff.
Yeah, if it was one match, it's 100% a ripoff. But I'm assuming if you're buying this VHS, it's maybe like $5 back then or something like that.
Oh, you're renting for like $3.
Oh, yeah. Then it's like if you're renting it, it's fine, for the 80s. Yeah. So quick watch on Peacock for 2 hours. I would say if you got nothing else to do, you just want to see some classic fucking Tito Santana, Rick Rude, and fucking DiBiase and Roberts, this is something for you.
And Ronnie Garvin. You want to see Ronnie Garvin's best WWE match.
Yeah, okay.
So, guys, we are done with the 80s. Andrew, we finished all the 80s pay-per-views.
Nice.
So, we are the definitive guide to 80s pay-per-views. Next week...
I missed 3, so I have to go back and watch them on my own.
Oh, Great American Bash, Halloween Havoc, and Survivor Series. Yes.
Yeah, I have to watch them on my own. Yeah.
Next week, we're in the 90s. It's Royal Rumble 90. The week after that, it's Wrestle War 90. The week after that, it's WrestleMania 6, and then Capital Combat, which features RoboCop's
Spit out.
Russell, but he's there. What are you looking forward to most? I'm actually looking forward to seeing RoboCop.
Me too.
Yeah, I've
Me
seen
too.
WrestleMania 6 million times. I've seen the Royal Rumble 90 million times. I could get Wrestle War is gonna be like I have a feeling it's gonna be like an average WCW show, but I want to see RoboCop.
Me too. 100%. I want to see RoboCop. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one I'm looking forward to. Guys, if you enjoyed this show, please subscribe. Goots' Wrestling Pod and Ray Goots on YouTube, Ray Goots Comedy. Ray Goots Comedy on TikTok, and Ray Goots on Instagram and Twitter. Please follow me with this. And that's it, Andrew. We're done for the week.
Great. Excellent.
So, guys, thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to burn in hell.